Well, we've been telling you about the spot where families go to notify the authorities that their loved ones are missing and to try and get their pictures on television to see if they can find them. Our Fox News correspondent Kieran Chetry's been with them on Manhattan's East Side. Today they've moved that family center. Kieran's with us from Pier 94, I believe it is, right, Kieran?
That's right, Shep. It's a new location, and unfortunately, it's also a new mood out here. As you were saying, a lot of the family members over the first couple of days after Tuesday were coming by, seeking out the press and trying to get their family members' pictures on television, anything, holding out hope that perhaps they were just unable to reach their relatives and maybe lost or disoriented at a hospital. Well, as the days have gone by and with nobody pulled out of the wreckage alive since Wednesday, those hopes are starting to fade, and we've seen less and less family members coming out here, fewer and fewer of them coming out here and trying to talk to us. Earlier today, though, right before it got dark, we had a chance to speak to a woman named Philomena Mistrulli. Her husband Joseph was doing renovations on the 106th floor of Tower 1. She said that the first couple of days she stayed home in Long Island, just hoping that perhaps he was going to call her or she was going to get a call from a local hospital. She said after the third day she got up, brought her daughter out here, and started milling around trying to get his picture out. She says now she's just looking for any answer, no matter what that answer may be.
You need closure. Do you understand? You need some kind of closure. So I'd be glad if my husband's alive. I would jump up and down. You know, I dream that he's walking through that door like it's reality, like he's really walking through, and he's not. But if the case is that he's not going to walk through that door, I need some kind of closure. Give me some kind of proof.
So she says she needs proof, and a lot of families, some 2,000 so far, have completed that difficult process of coming here to drop off DNA. They know that by doing that, they are accepting at least the possibility that their loved one did not make it out of that wreckage alive. Reporting live here from Pier 94. Shepard, back to you.
Kieran, she asked for proof, and we've been looking at some of the pictures of this disaster, and the truth is a lot of families really aren't going to get proof.
Unfortunately, that probably will be the case, Shep.
Yeah, all right. Kieran Chetry, live for us at the Family Center. Kieran, thanks. Thousands of people anxiously waiting word about their loved ones. 62 countries are now reporting, 62 countries, that they lost people in the World Trade Center attacks. But even in the face of the catastrophe, people are not giving up hope. An in-depth look at one of the brave ones holding on to hope in a Fox report now from Dari Alexander.
It's all too much for Karina Almanza to handle. Even the view from her New Jersey apartment is a constant reminder that this may be the end of her beautiful young love story.
He means the world to me. Everything.
3-year live-in boyfriend Eric Evans is believed to be one of thousands trapped under the steel, glass, and concrete, remnants of what was the World Trade Center.
I just wish I would have told him I loved him.
He worked on the 92nd floor as a manager for Aon Insurance. As Karina watched the towers melt from the crippling heat and eventually crumble, one phrase raced through her mind.
He's dead, he's dead, he's dead.
Karina says Eric would never leave anyone behind.
I know that if things don't work out the way I really want them to, that he was out there helping somebody.
And now, like thousands of other families, Karina is trying to help her loved one. She removes items from the apartment they share. It's for Eric's DNA. One thing she keeps, a hairbrush.
Because my hair's in there. My hair's in there. It's kind of silly. We have this almost same brush, and I always wanted to lay on his side of the bed and wear his clothes and use his stuff.
Karina treasures everything that belongs to him.
A closet full of stuff that I go through when I hold on to things that smell like him, and it's really hard.
Karina's caught in that whirlwind of emotions: sadness, disbelief, horror, and of course, anger. And while many Americans have no doubt about how the U.S. should respond, Karina is not so sure.
My problem with the whole war and things that are on the brink of happening is that so many lives are going to be lost, and people are going to lose family members, people here, people all over the world, everywhere.
Few have been rescued, but Karina thinks Eric is alive. So until she sees or speaks to him, she clings to pictures and an old voice message.
So I'll see you probably late. I'm guessing around 2-ish. All right? Love you. Bye.
In New Jersey, Dari Alexander, Fox News.
We're back in a moment.
Channel Daytime. You want to make the right choices. We give you the power to decide for yourself. Fair and balanced, the most powerful name in news. Fox News Channel. We report, you decide.
Hey, kid, come on over here. I want to show you something. I want you to listen to me now, okay? Because you got to get this right or else you're never going to make it. Now, if it goes over too much way this here, it's no good. If it falls over this way too much, it falls all over you. You got to make sure you got balance.
Balance?
All right.
Opinions. I have them, you have them. In fact, on any given subject, there are as many opinions as seats in this theater. And that's good, people speaking out, sharing ideas. But opinions are not the same as facts, and you should know the difference. And that's why at the Fox News Channel, we label all opinions right on your TV screen. And that should help you form your own opinion, so you can decide what's right and what's wrong.
What, you got the tickets? You bet I'm there. I'll pick you up. Oh, wait a second. You know, I can't make it. No, I can't. Yeah, it's pretty important. I gotta go. Okay, I'll talk to you later. There's Daddy's little girl.
And a free upgrade to Windows XP Home Edition. Hey, why just take your kids to school when you can take them farther than they ever dreamed?
From Wall Street to Washington, Americans putting on a show of force today, showing the terrorists they didn't win. The New York Stock Exchange opening for business and working by some miracle less than a week after the devastating attack in its own backyard. And President Bush rallying the troops at the Pentagon today, saying he wants Osama bin Laden dead or alive. Meantime, at Ground Zero, new numbers and the prospect of a painful decision. Fox News coverage continues now. Rick Leventhal live in Lower Manhattan. Rick, did you get a sense from the governor or the mayor today about when they're going to shift? And explain why this shift in classification is so important.
Well, one of the reasons why the shift from search and rescue to search and recovery is important is because once it switches to a recovery operation, they can speed up the process of clearing the debris and getting rid of any possible biomedical hazards there might be from all this rubble and debris that's smoking behind me. It's a very delicate and difficult decision, though, because of the people who are searching for their loved ones and holding out hope that there might be survivors buried in there, and the possibility that someone might be in there with water or some food supply and able to live for a long time. So they're weighing these things. They're looking at the site very carefully and still trying to figure out if and when that decision must be made. I talked to some construction workers on their way in who are just speechless at the enormity of this project. These are guys who've worked on some pretty big buildings, but you're looking at two of the tallest buildings in the world that have come down, leaving behind huge piles of smoking debris that must be cut through and removed. There are burners, the guys with the torches on tops of these steel beams, cutting them into smaller pieces so they can be lifted out. And in the meantime, you've got people on their hands and knees literally crawling through the holes of the rubble, trying to find survivors. And that's what slows things down. As long as you have people in there working in and amongst the rubble, you have to take things very, very slowly. And this is a task that could take months to complete. You mentioned numbers, Shepard. The latest missing figure is 5,422. 201 dead have been recovered. Of those, 135 have been identified. And of course, the search and rescue continues around the clock. Shepard.
Rick, a lot of our viewers have been asking in emails and phone messages for that matter, why not try going in through the tunnel, like where the PATH train came in, or through the subway? Have they tried all of that?
Well, they actually got into the PATH train station some 80 feet below the ground level on Sunday, yesterday. Did not find any people down there, apparently. The trains had already been moved to the New Jersey side before the towers came down. Didn't find anyone in that tunnel, and they're certainly looking through the basement areas. They have managed to get in there, despite the very shaky conditions of the ground and the rubble and that sort of thing. But again, no luck just yet, but they haven't given up hope. Shepard.
All right, Rick Leventhal, fine work out there, my friend. Thank you. An ultimatum's been delivered to Afghanistan, and it is this: hand over Osama bin Laden or an expected attack. Just that simple. Meantime, that country's airspace has been closed off, and there are reports of troop movements. In a Fox report now from Greg Palcott on assignment in Islamabad, Pakistan.
If you listen to Afghanistan's Taliban regime, the fate of prime terror suspect Osama bin Laden could be decided Tuesday. It was announced a Grand Council of Islamic clerics would rule on whether to hand him over to the U.S. The U.S. is holding out little hope, though. The offer's been made before. This follows a day of meetings between Pakistan officials and the Taliban leadership. Pakistan telling the Taliban to give up bin Laden or, following last week's terror strikes, expect an American military attack. Little progress was reported in those talks either. This as tension grows along the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. There are reports of a military buildup on both sides, as well as a swelling number of Afghans trying to flee the country, fearing that U.S. attack. Still in Afghanistan, 2 American aid workers and 6 other foreign nationals. They're being tried by a Taliban court for preaching Christianity in the Muslim country. The parents of the 2 Americans made a plea for their release, one father even offering to take the place of his daughter.
This is as far as I'm going without my daughter. Come hell or high water.
As anti-American demonstrations continue in Pakistan, the U.S. Embassy here is evacuating some non-essential personnel from its consulates. That due to security reasons, and considering a broader pullout if things really start to heat up. In Islamabad, Pakistan, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Greg, thank you. Demands this day for Afghanistan. Lots of bad numbers down in the rubble district in Lower Manhattan. Some bad numbers on Wall Street as well, but the great news is they got back to work, and what a trip it was as America finally starts to get a bit back to normal. Fox News correspondent Eric Lilligren live with us from Lower Manhattan. He took a trip into the city this morning with some of our commuters. How are you, Eric?
All right, Shep, thank you. Tension in the air as Wall Street went back to work today, and as traders and business people realized that they're also fighting part of this war on terrorism. Soldiers on the economic front.
America will not be brought to its knees.
Back to Wall Street, the message to terrorists, we mean business.
We go on, nothing's gonna stop us.
Marching in, retaking Lower Manhattan, underground, by train and boat, transportation workers handing out maps helping the nation's number crunchers to avoid the wreckage, to guide them as they come out in force, showing America's true colors. A ceremonious and sentimental start to trading after the longest closure since the Great Depression.
I think the message to the terrorists is this is all temporary. You will never, ever get to the United States of America or the free world.
Wall Street still smoking. The Army National Guard and New York cops sealing the streets, searching bags and checking names. Traders wondering what next, but knowing that their work must continue. Most say returning to normalcy is job number 1.
I don't feel that comfortable about it, but it's really just no choice.
Our resolve is strong. Our country is... What we've seen here has been a response that is unparalleled in our nation's history.
An historic moment as the American people resolve to face a new day. And one today many on Wall Street would rather forget, but Shep, many people saying it's a victory in itself that the markets were even able to open after this tragedy behind me. Back to you.
Eric, it has to be. You know, a lot of people were fearing the thing would go down 10%. There'd be all kinds of panic selling. I'm just wondering about some of these guys, and ladies for that matter. The last time they left this city, it was on fire. Did you sense fear from them when they were on their way back in?
Well, I rode with them on the ferry on the way in from New Jersey this morning, and they really had a sense of calm, but seriousness at the same time, and obviously despair looking at the skyline. You saw the pictures in the piece there.
And I would
they were confident in some way.
Yeah, I would think some of them lost some mighty good friends down there as well.
Well, they certainly did, and you could tell the somber mood everywhere around Lower Manhattan this morning as people were getting back to their jobs and trying to get back to normal.
Yeah, no doubt. Eric Lilligren live with us in Lower Manhattan. Eric, thanks very much. Well, we got through the weekend. The president spoke, then a mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral that we aired yesterday. You may have seen it. A beautiful song this morning at the opening bell. After then, it was downhill, but all the bells and whistles seem to be working. There's a war economy coming at some point. People who bought today to hear it from Neil Cavuto as he interviewed the Treasury Secretary today will probably be pretty happy in the days to come. How would you bet against America? I want to leave you with some of the latest pictures. These were taken just yesterday by the United States Coast Guard. With all the smoke cleared, the reality of what happened on the lower end of Manhattan coming clearly into focus. There was a mall underneath the World Trade Center, a mall that went 7-8 stories deep, including the subway stations and all that it contained, something so large it could hold up to 50,000 people during a commute, and often did, not to mention the 50,000 who worked in the towers above. When the helicopter makes it to the spot where the two towers once stood, you'll get the feeling that probably many of the relatives are this night. The weeks ahead will not be pretty. But to hear it from President Bush, it's a war we'll win, and our people will recover. I'm Shepard Smith in New York. For all of us on the Fox Report, thanks for trusting us for your news and information. The O'Reilly Factor's next. I'll be back with the latest on search and recovery efforts just minutes from now.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight as the military prepares for war. Which targets should be attacked and how should our power be used? We will get very specific. We'll also talk with Afghanistan's ambassador to the United Nations. I wouldn't want to be in that country right now. And we'll talk with the Democratic senator who pushed through a policy the CIA says tied the agency's hands. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
I'm Shepard Smith. Here is the latest with America United. President George W. Bush says the United States wants Osama bin Laden dead or alive. A delegation of Pakistani officials has gone to Afghanistan with an ultimatum: hand over bin Laden to the United States or you can expect to be attacked. Afghanistan's Taliban leadership will set up a council of Islamic clerics to decide whether to hand over bin Laden. At least 4 people have been arrested as material witnesses now, and many others who may be vital to the case are now in custody. And the stock markets reopened for business today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average suffering its biggest one-day point drop in history, closing below the 9,000 mark for the first time in more than 2 years. The market ending down 685 points to close at 8,921. Still, in percentage terms, today's losses far from a record, not even in the top 10. And the NASDAQ closing down 116 points at 1,579. The stocks of major airlines and travel-related companies taking a big hit when trading resumed. In response to major losses from the past week, carriers are trimming jobs and flight schedules. 3 companies today announcing a combined total of more than 14,000 layoffs. I'm Shepard Smith in New York. The O'Reilly Factor continues now on Fox News.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. America prepares for war is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Now is the time for all of us to be patriots, to sacrifice for our country. And that means we should all get back to normal as fast as possible. Take that airline flight, buy that car, work as hard as you can. Do all the things you would have done before the attack. Go to the baseball game. Americans who sold stock today should be ashamed. They aren't patriots. Look into buying Treasury bonds or stocks. Help your country out. Most of all, stare down your fear. Many Americans are afraid of what will happen next. That's normal, but don't give in to the fear. That's destructive. Be patriotic. Don't let the enemy rattle you. The Bush administration is being disciplined and methodical. That is very encouraging. They are lining up world support for the action America is going to take. Talking Points has studied the Afghan situation, and there should be little wiggle room for the Taliban government. They should be giving a short deadline in which to hand over bin Laden. If they don't, the U.S. should bomb the Afghan infrastructure to rubble. The airport, the power plants, the water facilities, and the roads. This is a very primitive country, and taking out their ability to exist day to day will not be hard. Remember, the people of any country are ultimately responsible for the government they have. The Germans were responsible for Hitler. The Afghans are responsible for the Taliban. We should not target civilians, but if they don't rise up against this criminal government, they starve, period. Next, Iraq must be dealt with. Again, their infrastructure must be destroyed and the population made to endure yet another round of intense pain. I wouldn't invade Iraq, but I would put them out of every possible business. Maybe then the people there will finally overthrow Saddam. Target 3 is Libya and Gaddafi. Again, he either quits and goes into exile or we bomb his oil facilities, all of them. And we mine the harbor at Tripoli. Nothing goes in, nothing goes out. We also destroy all the airports in Libya, let them eat sand. In addition, the leaders of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Islamic Jihad, all would be targeted for arrest or assassination for crimes against humanity. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight. Two military experts are here with their strategies. First joining us from Washington is Michael Horowitz, the analyst at the Hudson Institute and a former Marine. And from Washington, retired Army Major General Paul Vallely. So, General, what say you about my talking points memo?
Good evening, Bill. I'll tell you what, you're on the right track. You've created some scenarios there which are very important in the campaign plan to take out these terrorists. And it's a sustained effort, as we talked about last week.
Any suggestions, any additions to my plan, any subtractions, anything you think I've gone overboard with?
Well, the key thing in Afghanistan, which is only one of the scenarios, Bill, is that we have the Northern Alliance in northern Afghanistan. We also have a very important base up there. I say we. The Northern Alliance, formerly under General Massoud, who was assassinated last week, we will have to be very, very close to the Afghans. Keep in mind, 60% of the Taliban are Pakistani. So the Afghan people, for the most part, are looking for liberation. They want their country back.
We're going to talk to one of the ambassadors of this northern group, but you know as well as I do, General, that, you know, look, these people don't have a lot of power right now, don't have a lot of guns, they don't have a lot of organization. It's going to take years for them without our direct assistance. So I say if we strangle that country, I mean, there's only 5 roads in the country. If you look at the map.
2 main cities.
Yeah, that's it. We can knock their food supply out and their water supply out, and those people have to overthrow the Taliban. It's that or they die.
Exactly, and it's got to be done in unison, and we need those important people of the Northern Alliance to be there with us because they know where these caves are. They know the area very well. And so I would be developing a human intelligence with them. I'm sure that's being done right now. The other thing is we don't want to get bogged down like the Russians did. This is going to be
we can't go in. We can't go in with ground troops. It's impossible.
What we got to do is take out specific targets. Ground troops can do that as well. We need the ground troops on the ground to take out
I wouldn't send ground troops in Afghanistan. Mr. Horowitz, what do you say?
Yeah. Well, first I want to compliment you, Bill, for not being totally preoccupied with Afghanistan. The worst thing that could come out of this would be we take out that regime, we serve up bin Laden's head on a platter, and the chemical facilities, the nuclear plants, the biological plants in Iraq, in Sudan, and indeed in North Korea start working double time, overtime, and 3 years from now, we have a scenario that makes the World Trade Center look like a picnic.
Yeah, we have to, I know we have to, we can't go North Korea yet. Sudan, that's not hard. But the big one is Saddam Hussein. He's
Absolutely.
got to go. He's got to go.
And the same ultimatum that we deliver to the Taliban, and we've got the Pakistanis on our side, we send to Saddam Hussein and we say, open up your facilities to inspection, the very inspection that he's allowed the Clinton administration to forget about, or else we start bombing those facilities.
Well, you can't really bomb. You can't bomb the chemical facilities and the biological facilities because they're underground. So that'd be a waste of time. What we can do, what we did last time, is bomb all the bridges, close the harbor, bomb all the oil facilities, and say to those people, look, we don't want to do this, but either you get rid of this guy yourself, or you're just going to have to starve to death because we're not going to let anything in there.
There's one quibble I have with what you're saying, and that is all of these tactical judgments that you're making here. One of the things that pleases me greatly at this moment, and it's providential, we've got an A-team in place. We've got Don Rumsfeld. We've got Paul Wolfowitz, Douglas Feith at Defense. We've got Steve Hadley and Condi Rice at the NSC. We've got Colin Powell. We've got the vice president. And we've got a president who's literally growing by leaps and bounds in front of our eyes. I don't think we ought to get into the tactical side, because if they decide to go a different way and it doesn't work, and inevitably that's going to happen, there's going to be the second guessing. I'd leave the tactical judgments in their hands. Our job is to make clear that it doesn't end with Afghanistan, that we've got to go to countries like Sudan and say, listen, if you don't stop, we begin to provide arms to the southern rebels. We've got to go to the South Koreans and tell them no more pussyfooting with the North Koreans. We've got to stop the Clinton business with the North Koreans of, gee whiz, we'll pay you a lot of money if you close down your facilities. And most, and just as importantly, and they're waiting for us to do it, we've got to go to friendly Muslim governments, the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Pakistanis, and say to them, you can't burn the candle at both ends anymore. You're for us or you're against us.
Yeah, but it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as that, Mr. Horace. Now, General, if you, see, I'm not buying the fact that we can't offer tactical suggestions here, because, you know, everybody says, okay, we have to unite in this hour of crisis, and I agree with that. And if President Bush decides to go a different way, I'm not going to criticize him. I'm going to let him, let's see what happens here. But on the same time, I'm not going to say that the federal government has looked out for all our interests, General, because they haven't. We've got a porous border situation. It's still open down there. Anybody can come across from Mexico and into America now and do whatever they want to do. Federal government hasn't addressed that. The FAA didn't address the airline stuff, despite being warned and warned and warned. So my full confidence is not with the federal government.
Well, let me tell you, Bill, it should be with our military, because when we let them loose to do what they need to do, they will make those right operational tactical decisions. But I got to tell you, we're past rhetoric. We're past talk-a-doll. We've done all of that. The Pakistanis gave a ultimatum to the Taliban within the last 48 hours, and they said no. So we're past rhetoric. We'll go with our friends. Our friends will go with us, but we need to go in. And, Bill, we need to put on a special ops covert operation basis, go in and take these people out, some of these targets on the ground. It'll be a joint effort with Air Force, Navy, but we can't do it.
Let's talk about that. When we come back, we'll talk about the ground troop situation, because I don't think you can do that in Afghanistan. If you look at the map, and the Pakistanis say they're not going to allow American ground troops to come through, they will allow American air power to come through.
There's ways to do it, Bill.
There's ways to do it, but I don't think the risk is worth it. I think we can bomb those people back to the Stone Age, and as you said, have the other guerrilla movement come back in. Well, we'll take a short break. We'll be back with more strategy in a moment. And then, did Senator Robert Torricelli tie the CIA's hands? We'll talk with him in just a few moments.
If making money were simple, we'd all be millionaires. Let's face it, money decisions are tough decisions. You need to know what's going on here and how it will affect your finances, your future, and your family. We cover the markets in plain English so that when the bell rings, you can understand what happened and decide what's right for you. We bring Wall Street to Main Street so maybe you can live on Easy Street.
What, you got the tickets? You bet I'm there. I'll pick you up. Oh, wait a second. You know, I can't make it. No, I can't. Yeah, it's pretty important. I gotta go. Okay, I'll talk to you later. There's Daddy's little girl.
Mother Nature takes her toll, raging against the elements. Fox News Channel is there, bringing you the updates. From the eye of the storms to the aftermath of destruction, make Fox News Channel your only source for complete and up-to-the-minute reports.
Continuing now with our military options, we're talking to Michael Horowitz and General Paul Vallely. General, the Russian experience was a disaster, and they had a government. The government was actually in their pocket, and they still got carved up. You know, why would you send American ground troops into Afghanistan when it's so hard, so far from any kind of base camp or support?
Well, we're getting basing over there, Bill. We're going to have some good basing, but as evidence, when you just use air alone, it doesn't work. It's part of a joint warfare plan. You've got to put special operations forces that are well-trained in any environment. I was trained in the desert, the jungle, mountainous, whatever the case may be. So our special operations and strike forces are trained to operate in any environment. So we need to be confident of that.
I'm not confident of that. Mr. Horowitz, what do you think about that?
Well, we don't know what the situation is in Afghanistan. Remember, when they tore up the Russians, America was providing Stinger missiles to them. They had full logistical support from Pakistan.
But they went in heavy.
Obviously, though, neither of those factors are going to be there. We also have a regime that's considerably less popular and more radical. It is possible that we can, much more easily than you think, put in ground troops. But I'm inclined to agree with Paul that we're going to have some sort of ground troops over there to actually exploit what the bombing does.
Yeah, we don't put them in the cities.
But it's going to happen.
We don't get them in the cities, put them in the cities.
How are you going to get them in there, General? If the Pakistanis aren't going to let them through, how are you going to get them in? We
have airspace clearance, and I think you're going to see the Pakistanis surprise us with some ease. We've got other staging areas we can use. We've got the aircraft to get them in. We get them in at night.
So you're going to parachute them in. You're going to have airborne. You're going to parachute them in.
Well, we have air assault, Bill. We've got the helicopters to put them in. We can do a low-level drop at 500 feet, which I've done, and gets them in at night early, on the ground early. So there's lots of ways to do it, and we're trained to do that.
All right, but we don't know where bin Laden is, and he's probably hiding in some cave in some mountain someplace.
That's right.
So the odds of finding him are very, very small. So why not just knock out all the infrastructure of that country and just wait for a week, and they'll do what Milosevic did. They'll say, hey, I'm out of here because we can't survive here.
Well, when we do that, Bill, we hurt all the other people that are not part of that regime.
I'd rather hurt those people than ground soldiers, General. I mean, I don't feel sorry for those Afghans at all. If they're going to let those Taliban operate, I'd rather have them go down than our people.
Well, everybody would. That's one scenario. Everybody would, but we've got to be firm.
Right. All right, gentlemen, we appreciate your time very much. We'll see what happens. Thanks again for joining the Factor.
Okay, Bill, glad to be here.
Next, did Robert Torricelli convince Bill Clinton and the CIA director to avoid criminal informants? Charges of flying. We'll talk with the senator when we come back.
That's what happened.
Okay. Katie, now you tell me what happened.
Well, but Grandpa, I just told you.
Well, it's only fair if we hear her side.
What, you don't believe me?
Oh, now wait a second. It's important to hear both sides of the story so that we can understand everything that happened.
Grandpa, can I tell you my side?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
When I was playing, Greg just came over and pushed me. I wasn't doing anything.
Okay, Greg, now what about...
Mother Nature takes her toll, raging against the elements. Fox News Channel is there, bringing you the updates. From the eye of the storms to the aftermath of destruction, make Fox News Channel your only source for complete and up-to-the-minute reports.
Remember him? He was such a jerk.
A complete jerk, but so cute.
So wrong.
Yeah, but
everybody told you.
I know, but I didn't want to hear it.
You listen to me.
That's different. I trust you. When you tell me something, I know it's the truth.
Well, in that case, trust me. That was one ugly dress.
Channel V. Channel V.
Check it out now. Channel V. 24時間 100% music. US, UK のトップヒット on air. Concert, music news, star 独占インタビュー and more. International music scene をそのまま catch.
What does the V stand for?
It's all about music. Channel V.
In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, tying the hands of the CIA. That agency has come under heavy fire for not warning us about the terror operation. CIA officials have fired back. They can't do the job because they can't hire informants who have criminal records or shady backgrounds. The reason the CIA can't do that, they say, is a Torricelli principle, policy adopted by the Clinton administration after Senator Robert Torricelli raised hell about a Guatemalan general who was on the CIA's payroll. Senator Torricelli joins us now. So you're getting blamed here, Senator. That's not fair, is it?
It's not fair. In fact, there is no such principle. And I think the most useful thing is the CIA put a statement out today. Bill Harlow, the CIA statement, made very clear they can hire anybody they want. There is no restriction on who they hire. What is required, based on my involvement and President Clinton's involvement, is before you hire someone who is a murderer, drug runner, terrorist, you have to get permission from the CIA headquarters itself. So this decision is not made in the field, but people who are responsible can make the decision. So there's a cost-benefit analysis. If we're going to get involved with someone who's a criminal, let's make sure it's worth the decision.
But you know, you can put yourself in the in a field guy's position. He's trying to get information, and he can only get it from the worst slug of, you know. Yeah, well, and then he has to talk to John Deutsch,
right or wrong,
who didn't know his butt from his elbow.
Right or wrong, the worst slugs are and should be on our payrolls, because that's the only way you get information.
Yeah, all right, that sounds good now, but for 6 years, all the CIA guys in the field told me, they said, screw, I'm not going to use that word, but they said, forget it. We're not going to do this because John Deutsch was not respected. He's the guy they found with the computer, the ex-CIA
Well, but in a civilian government, the leadership of the CIA has to maintain some control of its field agents. To have a field agent decide a fellow has committed a murder, as they did in Guatemala, or they're in the drug-running business, but we need information from them, that's a policy decision. I don't think you want that made by a field agent. You want that made somebody senior at headquarters.
How about a station chief? Isn't that high enough? See, I'm sympathizing with these CIA guys now. Number one, because they blew it on the terror thing here. I mean, I was shocked when all of this happened. I'm sure you were too.
I'm shocked too, but I think you're casting the blame in the wrong place.
Let me formulate my question. You got a station chief, okay? I mean, he's out there in Beirut. He's out there in Islamabad, Pakistan, and he knows the turf, and he's got to make a quick call. Do I pay Mohammed a couple of $100? Or do I call John Deutsch in Washington doesn't know his butt from his elbow?
I think that was best addressed by the agency today. The CIA put a statement out today saying never in the history of the agency has a request been made in the field to infiltrate a terrorist organization by hiring one of these people and had it denied.
Of course they're going to say that.
Well, you know.
Of course they're going to say that. Come on, Senator, you know how it works. So they're covering their butts.
Well.
But look,
I believe the agency is now saying they have the authority and they've never turned anybody down. I take the word that I think that is probably right.
I'm
now,
telling you what the
is the principle wrong? I don't think so. The principle, if we're going to have a policy decision to hire people, particularly if they've committed crimes against the United States, somebody's got to be accountable to make that decision.
Well, wait. The station chief should be accountable, not the pinheads in Washington. You're tying the hands of the guys in the field. Every CIA guy I've talked to, most of them have been former, they're not in the agency now, they said as soon as this Torricelli principle came in, they said, forget it. We're not even going to bother with it because we don't want to get turned down by this Deutsch. We don't like him anyway. They hated him.
Well, this isn't just, I'm not going to here to defend John Deutsch, but this is not just John Deutsch. The agency said today that in its history, up until including right now under George Tenet, no one has asked for permission to hire one of these informants and been turned down.
Because they didn't want to go to Washington.
You don't know that, and I don't know that.
That's what they tell me.
You don't know that. And I don't know that. But the point is, on the principle, the agency's hands are not being tied. They can hire anybody they want.
They got to get permission.
If they get permission.
If they get permission.
Just like I suspect you got to get permission, I got to get permission. So that's part of running a government.
Here's the deal. The terrorists can blow up the World Trade Center. They don't have to get anybody's permission, all right? They can just do it. But if we want to hire somebody to give us a quick tip that may be coming down, we can't do that without permission from a pinhead in Washington.
I'm not exactly sure that these terrorists are setting the standard we want to follow.
We have to defend ourselves.
Our standard is accountability. And we, at this moment, the fact the CIA didn't do it, meaning, tragically, they obviously have not infiltrated bin Laden.
Obviously.
They did not have information. They did not compromise him. Is not a fair because they didn't have the ability under law. They had the ability under law. Tragically, they just didn't do it. Now, whether they didn't do it because it proved to be practically impossible or it was bad management or bad leadership, we're going to discover that. But at the moment, you don't know and I don't know.
I'm not laying this on you. I think that would be unfair. all right? But I am telling you that you, Senator Torricelli, caused another layer of bureaucracy within an agency that needs to be nimble and brutal. You caused another layer of bureaucracy. Now, some viewers may say, good. Well, but I'm saying not so good.
But I believe in any law enforcement agency, and people have power of life and death, someone must be accountable. That's not a field agent sitting somewhere in the country. That is senior leadership of the CIA who get to say, because remember what we're dealing with here. What we discovered in Central America...
Let me ask you this.
No, let me finish. What we discovered in Central America is people who were involved in the narcotics trade of bringing drugs to America were being used as paid informants by the U.S. government.
Yeah, they did that in Vietnam, too.
People who were involved in murdering American citizens were paid informants. Now, there may be a time when that's necessary for national security. But if we're going to make that decision, some senior official better say, this is worth doing.
That's not a bad point in the sense that that's the policy. Noriega was being paid by the CIA, okay, and we had to grab him. However, was George Bush Sr. ever a CIA agent? Was he? No. But you know what he was? The head of the CIA. George Bush Sr.
I tried his judgment.
Was he ever an agent? What I'm trying to tell you is when you guys in Washington add another layer of bureaucracy.
Not another layer, one layer.
No, that's another layer. They already have layers like crazy.
You're going to hire someone who's involved in criminal activity, get permission before you use the taxpayers' money.
I give it to the station chief. If you don't have enough,
people have to be accountable.
Look, if these CIA guys don't have enough confidence in their station chiefs, the guys in charge of the local offices, it'd be like Congress. If you don't have enough confidence in your congressman to vote the right way, get them out of there. You don't have to do everything like that.
But there's a limit to the latitude you give. You are dealing with the reputation of the United States government. You are dealing with other consequences that hurt us if it's the wrong decision. If you're going to make the government responsible for it, get permission.
All right, but
one question, one answer.
I will tell you this, and I'll give you the last word.
No, Bill, something went wrong, but that's not it. The problem here is a lack of being aggressive. I don't think there was enough accountability in getting into these agencies. We accepted failure. When the answer came back, we couldn't infiltrate bin Laden. The real answer should have been the CIA. If you can't, I'll get somebody who can.
Well, the lack of aggression by the CIA and the FBI to some extent, too, because Louis Freeh did an awful job there, was because the troops in the field are demoralized. And the reason they're demoralized is because everything's being run out of D.C. when these guys are at lunch half the day, and they don't know what's going out in the field. I'll give you the last word.
That may be a part of it. I don't think that's the major part. Here's the major part of it.
Quick.
We've let ourselves off too easy in this responsibility. We've relied on technology. We've looked at satellite photos. We've read intercepts. Real intelligence dealing with terrorists means you go out there, you infiltrate them. Sometimes you have to kill them. You can't do it in Washington looking at satellites.
But you don't have to get permission for everything, or the moment evaporates. Thank you, Senator, for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening. The Afghan ambassador to the United Nations will be here. That should be interesting. And will the terrorists succeed in throwing America into a severe recession? I hope you stay tuned for those reports.
Mother Nature takes her toll, raging against the elements. Fox News Channel is there, bringing you the updates. From the eye of the storms to the aftermath of destruction, make Fox News Channel your only source for complete and up-to-the-minute reports.
You know, some mornings this is just too much. Especially when it's cold and nasty outside. But you're my pal. You're always there for me, unlike some people. And I'm not gonna let you down. Come on, man, let's go outside. So, Cosmo, got any big plans for today? There you go.
Channel V.
Channel V. Channel V.
Channel V.
Check it out now. Channel V. 24時間 100% music. US, UK のトップヒット on air. Concert, music news, star 独占インタビュー and more. International music scene をそのまま catch.
What does the V stand for?
It's all about music. Channel V.
In In the personal story segment tonight, you don't want to be in Afghanistan right now. Unless the Taliban government hands Osama bin Laden over to America, all hell will rain down on them, and soon. Listen now is Dr. Ravan Farhadi, the ambassador to the United Nations from the Northern Alliance of Afghanistan, a group which opposes the Taliban government. Spoke about it at the beginning of the program. All right, Mr. Ambassador, do you believe the Taliban is going to hand over Osama bin Laden?
I have doubts about it, in spite of the fact that still the Pakistanis are trying, and I have the reason for this doubt.
They're that stubborn because they know what's going to happen to them if they don't hand them over. The whole infrastructure of Afghanistan is going to be, you know, they saw what happened in Yugoslavia, they saw what happened in Iraq. That's going to happen to Afghanistan.
Yes, we have almost no infrastructure, but what will be dangerous, the innocent people to die.
Yeah, well, they're going to try not to do that, but they're going to knock out the airport, they're going to knock out the roads, they're going to knock out the power. Some innocent people will die. Now, is your group in the northern part of Afghanistan strong enough to come down and kick the Taliban out when after the bombing happens?
The most important aspect of the matter is that Pakistan may not be ready to cooperate.
Well, we'll take care of them later.
Yes.
We'll, you know, let's take care of Pakistan later. Are your guys powerful enough to throw them out after we bomb them?
Yes.
You think they are?
We need maybe a few months, but we can do that.
All right.
We can do that.
Do your guys know where Osama bin Laden is?
We can locate him.
You can locate
because
him.
We know the country. We are from the country. We are the sons of that country.
And I'm sure you have spies within the Taliban.
Yes. Yes.
So have you told the U.S. State Department that you guys can pinpoint Osama for them?
For the time being, we feel that the State Department is very busy with Pakistan. But if they come to us and we are ready to talk...
They haven't come to you yet?
Not very much.
All right, well, I hope they're watching right now, because I believe that...
Unless I don't know, but...
Well, you'd know. You're the only representative in the United States that speaks for your faction here. But I believe you. I believe that you could be of great help in locating bin Laden, because you have spies all over the Taliban, right?
Yes, yes.
So if they came to you, you might be able to help.
Yes, I think what is important that it is that we have been fighting the Taliban and forces of bin Laden since 5 years.
Right.
Consecutively.
You know that. But bin Laden is outside in the countryside somewhere, right? He's not in Kabul or any of those.
No, he is not neither in Kabul, maybe neither in... and he's changing, I think, a lot. And he may be in either in some mountainous area. We have also, because I don't have the intelligence news, but it seems that he can be located easily.
How do you, in New York City, contact your guys in the northern mountains?
Well, you know how much life has changed since the satellite telephone is working.
So you got sat phones up there. So you can talk to those guys anytime you want.
Yes.
Well, listen, if you get information about where he is, call me. I won't tell him, but I'll call Powell right away and let him know. All right, Mr. Ambassador, we wish you the best. We hope your guys take over because this Taliban government's got to go. Thank you very much for coming in. Coming next, the stock market tanks. Have the terrorists already won that war? And Dick Morris on the wartime difference between Bush and Clinton. Also, how about emailing us? Your email address is O'Reilly@FoxNews.com, O'Reilly@FoxNews.com. We would like to hear from you. The Factor continues after these announcements of interest.
There's nothing new going on in Washington. No new issues, scandals, or controversy, because Washington has always been a hotbed of egos, emotions, and intrigue. The only difference now is that the press and media are all over it, with more cameras and more reporters than ever before. But how can you be sure you're getting the whole story, fair and balanced? Well, watch the political fireworks here and catch the best show around.
No. No. You know, we agree on just one thing. A good argument's the best way to get to the core of an issue.
Wait a minute, I don't agree with that. A discussion's the best way. You have to explain, reason, justify your position.
Everybody on TV is discussing things, Alan. That's boring. If you want to find out what people really think, you need a good argument.
No, a discussion's
An
better.
argument.
A discussion.
We can agree on this. It's your turn to pick up the check today.
Well, I'll argue that one.
Alan, let's see if we can discuss this.
Sometimes you just have to be there. People say just the facts, ma'am, but that's not the whole story. It's the people, the way they tell it, the experience they had. It can really touch you. News can be more than just a story. It's a shared event, a defining moment, a string that pulls us together. Technology isn't news. People are news.
Grandpa, that's the whole story. That's what happened.
Okay. Katie, now you tell me what happened.
Well, but Grandpa, I just told you.
Well, it's only fair if we hear her side.
What, you don't believe me?
Oh, now wait a second. It's important to hear both sides of the story so that we can understand everything that happened.
Grandpa, can I tell you my side?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
When I was playing, Greg just came over and pushed me. I wasn't doing anything.
Okay, Greg, now what about...
On 685 on the Dow. So what does that mean for you and me? Joining us now from Washington is Stephen Moore, the president of the Club for Growth, and from Berkeley, California, Dr. Laura Tyson, the dean of the Haas School of Business at the University of California at Berkeley. All right, doctor, I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed. I think a lot of foreign money came out of the market today, but I know that some Americans were shorting, which just makes me sick. Some even shorted insurance companies. Try to do it before the market opened just really makes me want to retch. Because I think this is a time where everybody has to try to prop up and help the government as much as possible. What do you think?
I think that would be great. I do think that there have been calls for people to behave in a patriotic fashion by consuming and by investing in the stock market. And I also would say I think that actually that is good economic advice, because investing at a moment when the market is weak, if you look historically, the market comes back. There's a scare after a war, market goes down, it comes back strong. This is a good buying opportunity.
Yeah, but we've been hearing that now for a year.
But we had a very dramatic move today. So if you didn't believe that before today, I think...
Did you buy today, doctor? Did you buy?
I did not, but I actually think the market is very attractive, and I was thinking today that that was something that I was going to do.
If you had to buy, or if you go in tomorrow and buy, where will you buy? I mean, you don't have to give specific names, but what? See, people are scared.
I know they are.
And I don't blame them. I mean, Greenspan screwed it up. Now he's trying to unscrew it, and the economy has slowed down, and now we got the terrorist war. And I mean, people are going, you know, I got my family to protect here. I don't want to play around in a stock market. That's what they're saying.
Well, I think that they should consider the evidence that over any reasonable time horizon, if you are saving for your child's education, you're saving to buy a house, you're saving for your retirement, you're saving over more than the next 3 months, that really investing in the stock market is the best way.
All right, any areas?
Invest.
Any areas?
I would say if people are feeling particularly uncertain, which I would understand, that they might consider more index fund investing, which is really a way of, say, spreading your investment across all of a class of stock. You can invest in the entire Standard & Poor's or Dow Jones index funds.
Or Amex or NASDAQ, right? You can, and if it goes up, then you go up, and if it goes down, then we all have to move to Afghanistan, where the living costs are very low. Mr. Moore, what do you think? Are you with Dr. Tyson? Are you going to buy tomorrow?
Well, you know, Bill, today there were literally millions of Americans who took your advice and bought stocks, even in the face of potential huge losses. And this was about a $500 billion loss in wealth today. The problem is, and by the way, I think millions of Americans will keep investing this week. The problem is we need some help from the federal government. You know, we need something like a capital gains cut to put some more juice into the economy, to put some more value into these stocks. It's really critical that not only that Americans understand that this was not just an assault against our military and our political system. These planes were targeted at the American system of capitalism, and we within the next 48 hours, I think a strategic economic plan from the president to rescue investors who very patriotically put their money in the market.
All right, well, you got your half-point rate cut. You got that right away. Somebody
but we need a tax cut, too.
Yeah, somebody kicked Greenspan's door in this morning and said, hey, you know, you want the capital gains to be cut. Now, I've been calling for that for a year.
You know what,
But the
Bill?
problem here, there's two problems here, Mr. Moore. Number one, the people on the Hill, primarily Democrats, are going to say, hey, you're given a tax cut in the time when we have to spend all this money on the war and prop up the airlines. We're going to run a huge deficit. And number two, you're going to get the same old class warfare.
They will.
Cap gains only helps the rich. It doesn't help the guy working down.
But it just ain't true anymore. You know, we've got 100 million people in the United States who now own stocks, Bill, and these people are losing money. You know, they've lost money for the 9 months before today. And the fact is, if you look back in 1997, when we did last cut the capital gains tax, the market doubled in value.
Listen, you don't have to convince me.
You know what, Bill? One last point. If we were to cut the capital gains tax this week, I would predict to you the market would recover all that it lost today.
Doctor, do you concur with this? I mean, remember, you're in Berkeley, California, so I don't know if you can go out, if you agree with us, you can go out after.
Well, actually, you asked me, we talked about this was supposed to be in the near term, and in the near term, I think the most important thing for the government to do is to convince the American public that they are going to invest in security for the American public. And I think it is a concern about security and shaken confidence that drove the market down today. It had nothing to do with the level of capital gains taxation. I think the government needs to, as it is doing, indicate a willingness to spend significantly on intelligence, on anti-terrorism, on airport security.
There's no, I mean, forget about the surplus.
But I think I think the sooner the government begins to do that, the more there's a chance that people's confidence
Mr. Moore, I'll get to you in a minute.
restored.
I'll get to you in a minute, Mr. Moore. Doctor, look, the government's not going to carry this economy. The people are going to carry it, okay?
That's right.
So let's be honest here. Now, you're against the capital gains tax. Why, Doctor, specifically?
No. I really don't think it's the right moment to debate the pros and cons of a capital gains tax. I think the real issue here is
But if it would stimulate the stock market and get money coming back in, what's wrong with it?
The problem is the stock market declined today, as it has declined during most war or anticipated war situations. It has nothing to do with capital gains taxation. People are afraid. They're afraid of the future. If you reduce the capital gains tax in this environment, you are not going to see people moving back into the market for that reason. They will move back into the market for patriotism. They will move back into the market because of a sense that the government is going to do something to enhance their security. They will do something because they're mobilized around a grander mission.
Where is Dr. Tyson going wrong, Mr. Moore?
Well, look, I just think we need a military response and an economic response to this tragedy that's going on in the country. The investors, as I said, millions of patriotic Americans have put their faith in the market. They need some help from the Bush administration and Congress to pass something like capital gains, and it goes beyond that. We need to start drilling oil in Alaska. We need to make sure that the OPEC does not raise oil prices in the face of this horrible tragedy. We ought to say to the Saudis and the Kuwaitis and the Venezuelans, look, you're not going to profiteer on this, because, you know, we know where these terrorists are getting their money, Bill. They get their money from OPEC profits, and we ought to basically stabilize oil prices, put the capital gains tax down so people have an incentive to invest, and keep producing for America.
All right. Now, Dr. Tyson, people are, number one, this is a discussion that you have to have some kind of sophistication to follow. And while most people are in the stock market, they do so investing through their own companies. They have 401ks. Other people basically do their investing for them. There are people who have individual stocks, of course, but majority of Americans really are lost when it comes to this. And one of the things that has been really, really damaged in this country is the faith in the Merrill Lynches, in the Payne Webbers and all of this, because those guys were wrong. Wrong. And now when somebody comes on CNBC and says, hey, this is going to, I don't believe them for a second. I don't believe anything they say, because what they're saying is what they want to happen, not what's gonna happen. So what I want you two to do is tell me what's going to happen between now and the end of the year, in your educated opinion, Doctor.
Well, first of all, let me say one thing in defense of the financial securities industry. It is the case that many investors were warned, and should continue to be warned, that investing in stocks, in particular in individual stocks, is a long-term strategy. If you invest in a market moving up on momentum because you see the market going up and you say, gee, if I don't get stock for company X, it's going up at 3% a day, I'm going to be out of luck, you are going to make a mistake. And a lot of people did make mistakes, and a lot of people made mistakes on their own. There was a lot more investing online by individual investors who weren't taking
Let me just stop you there.
Okay,
Take a look tomorrow in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, LA Times, of all the mutual funds listed under all the big brokerage houses, all right? And just look at the negatives and the number next to it. I'm not blaming this on the American people. They had faith, and they got let down by Alan Greenspan, by Bill Clinton. It's too early to say whether Bush has botched it or not. I don't know.
I think there's
and the big brokerage houses who lied.
Now, what happened was there is a wonderful set of evidence which people chose to overlook, that movements on the stock market are very random, and that in fact you can try, that there's a huge amount of risk involved in taking on these funds.
I understand the risk, and I think everybody does, but when you're pounding that pavement the way they were, I just think it wasn't right. I'm teed off. Dr. Stephen Moore, I'll give you the last word on it.
This is an extremely fragile economy. It was teetering on the verge of recession before these bomb attacks occurred. We need some help in terms of fiscal stimulus. We got the monetary stimulus today, but until Congress takes action to get growth back, I think we could be in for some tough times.
Treasury bonds, both of you? Treasury bonds?
Might fall some more. No, Laura Tyson is right about one thing. If you're investing for the long term, Bill, if you're investing for the long term, stocks is still your best bet.
Thanks very much, Doctor. Mr. Moore, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Dick Morris analyzes the Bush performance so far in the terrorist action and compares it to what Bill Clinton might have done. How about writing us a letter? We'd love to hear from you. The O'Reilly Factor, Fox News Channel, 1211 Avenue of the Americas. New York, New York, 10036. Name in town, name in town, name in town. Keep it pithy. We're right back.
Fox News Channel Daytime. You want to make the right choices. We give you the power to decide for yourself. Fair and balanced. The most powerful name in news. Fox News Channel. We report, you decide.
Hey, kid, come on over here. I want to show you something. I want you to listen to me now, okay? Because you got to get this right or else you're never going to make it. Now, if it goes over too much way this here, it's no good. If it falls over this way too much, it falls all over you. You got to make sure you got balance.
Balance?
All right.
Opinions. I have them, you have them. In fact, on any given subject, there are as many opinions as seats in this theater. And that's good, people speaking out, sharing ideas. But opinions are not the same as facts, and you should know the difference. And that's why at the Fox News Channel, we label all opinions right on your TV screen. And that should help you form your own opinion, so you can decide what's right and what's wrong.
What, you got the tickets? You bet I'm there. I'll pick you up. Oh, wait a second. You know, I can't make it. No, I can't. Yeah, it's pretty important. I gotta go. Okay, I'll talk to you later. There's Daddy's little girl.
America's lending partners.
More lenders.
More options.
More solutions.
Call toll-free 1-866-403-LOAN. That's 1-866-403-LOAN.
In the Back of the Book segment tonight, Fox News analyst Dick Morris sees a difference in the way George Bush is handling the terror crisis than Bill Clinton might have. Dick joins us now from Stamford, Connecticut. So you like the way Bush has handled himself so far?
Yeah, I think he's doing fine. I mean, it's only a week, and it's hard to make any long conclusions, but I think that he's handling it, let's put it this way, I would trust George Bush right now more than I would trust my old boss to handle this situation. On domestic policy, give me Clinton any time. But in this situation, I think you have the right guy in there.
All right, why? Why wouldn't you, why do you say that?
Bush has a very simple view of the world. He sees things very clearly in black and white terms, and he's able to move ahead. Clinton is the definition of paralysis by analysis. He wraps his mind around a problem. He considers every aspect of it. He's like a chess player looking at what every move could possibly be made. And ultimately, he ends up taking a risk-averse strategy. You look at the Kosovo bombing, where he didn't let them go beneath 30,000 feet. He wouldn't send in the Apache helicopters. He wouldn't send in ground troops. You look at the Afghan raids, where it's a one-day strike. And I think that you're looking with Clinton at a very measured response, very afraid to take casualties, very worried about something going wrong, and that just is not the way to win a war.
All right, but he did win the Yugoslavian thing without any American casualties to speak of. And while he was criticized at the time, Wesley Clark being one of his main critics, the general in charge of the effort, ultimately, Bill Clinton's strategy worked, and Milosevic is sitting on his can in The Hague and about to be sentenced to life in prison.
Well, I supported what Clinton was doing during Kosovo, and I still do. But if the situation required more than he gave it, I don't think he would have given it. Tokenism, when you look at it, is kind of a democratic fault. Carter sends in 3 helicopters, and 1 breaks down, and they can't rescue the hostages. There's a risk-averse attitude among liberals and Democrats that often hangs them up in situations like this. And let me ask you this question, Bill. Look at the team. Who would you rather have? Warren Christopher, a lawyer, or Colin Powell at State? Bill Cohn, a senator from Maine who writes mystery novels, or Donald Rumsfeld, a former defense secretary?
Well, look, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that question. Only to say,
Dick Cheney, defense secretary.
I'm going to only say this, that it remains to be seen. Remember, Colin Powell was the guy who let Saddam Hussein escape. Schwarzkopf wanted to take that guy out. And Schwarzkopf was right, and Colin Powell was wrong. Now, Colin Powell, so far, this time, has handled himself magnificently, and I believe that they're doing what they should do, and I also think you're making an excellent point, whereas President Bush himself sees things in a very black and white area. I mean, good, bad, evil has to be destroyed. We're going to destroy it.
When Bush has a tough decision, he sleeps well at night.
Yeah,
Clinton
well,
never
look,
does.
Mr. Clinton did not know what evil was. And I don't believe he believes evil exists. I think it's everything's relative to him.
Right.
Absolutely right.
Also, he's constantly worried about his own military record coming back to haunt him.
But Somalia was a disaster, and that's what I want to talk about. You've got to temper. Like at the beginning of this program, we had a general on. He said, "Okay, let's get ground troops in Afghanistan." I think an absolute disaster to do that. Absolutely. I'm looking at that whole terrain. I'm seeing there's no armored support. There's nothing there, and I'm thinking Somalia, Somalia, Somalia. Chaos. No way for these guys to really know who's coming at them. Do it with air. You can do it with air. It's not a country that can withstand our kind of air. But you want somebody who's going to also look out for the troops in the military, not just strike the punishing blow at any cost, correct?
Well, I think you do, but I think, you know, you're right on about Afghanistan, Bill. Remember, this country chewed up the Soviet army, probably the best army in the world, and they just destroyed it, shattered its morale, huge casualties. Stinger missiles helped, but they probably still have them. And there's a great deal more that we can do from the air and with air-ground operations. But I think that basically, Bill Clinton is like the Greek proverb, the guy who sees everything and as a result is blind. And to a certain extent here, you need somebody who has a very clear view, a very limited focus, and a willingness to take casualties. I spoke to Bill Safire once, and we were comparing Lincoln and Clinton. minority presidents, each elected with a small share of the vote, whole lot of things like that. And Sapphire put his finger in my face and he said, Lincoln was willing to take casualties.
Look, yeah, I think all Americans at this point, everyone, well, it's 88% say, do what you have to do. And the military is trained and they know what the risks are. And all Americans would be willing to take casualties. But you only take casualties, as you know, a good field commander, Dick, when you have no other choice. If we have to wait 2 weeks longer so the Taliban government disintegrates, then I'm willing to wait the 2 weeks rather than take a couple of thousand paratroopers back in body bags.
And one wonders if the best way to capture bin Laden isn't to put $1 billion price on his head.
Well, I think there's already a price on his head. But we had, listen, the best way to do that is to knock this Taliban government out and then let the northern rebels come down. And then where's he going to run and hide? I mean, we got him in a squeeze.
I have a comment on your last segment, if you have a second.
Sure.
About the capital gains tax. There are really 2 points. The first is when you cut the capital gains tax, you gain revenue, you don't lose it, because people sell holdings they otherwise would hang on to. That's been the experience every time we've cut it. So it's a way to avoid dipping into the Social Security surplus as much. And the second is that I think there's a deal on the table here that could be proffered to the Democrats in a minute and they'd take it. A capital gains cut for a minimum wage increase. Put buying power in the economy, stimulate investment, help the poorest and the richest, and ultimately benefit the middle class.
Yeah, but do you put a minimum wage hike on the table when you're in recession, when people are being laid off?
Yeah,
see, now, look, I think your strategy politically is very good. But remember, we were in trouble before this terrorist bombing. We were in trouble. And nobody knew how bad that recession was going to be because Greenspan screwed it up so badly. Now, I would make that deal. I would give them the minimum wage rise, but I know small business is going to get hurt by doing that.
Yeah, but you could phase it in over a period of time. There are no inflationary pressures to worry about at this point. And the capital gains cut would be absolutely terrific. And I think that you can cover yourself politically by coupling it with a minimum wage
and this is the time to do it because any Democrat that speaks out against it now really runs the risk. See, any Democrat that speaks out against anything now, I mean, you heard Senator Torricelli, who I respect for coming and taking the fire. I mean, all of this relativism, oh, we have to get permission, and this is gone. The whole political climate, and you as one of the top political analysts in the country, hasn't it all changed now?
It's all changed, and this is a defining moment for the Democratic Party. If they just hunker down, shut up, and go along with Bush, they're going to be fine. But if they pull the stuff they did during the Gulf War, when except for Clinton and Gore, most of them voted against ground troops being sent into Iraq.
They won't do that.
They're going to be in serious trouble.
Yeah, they won't do that. And if Bush pulls it off, if he can eradicate a lot of this terrorism and restore confidence, those Democrats are going to have to sit on their hands for another 7 years.
And it solves George Bush's biggest problem, which was what do you do after you cut taxes?
Well, it solves his leadership problem. If he can pull this off, and boy, it's not going to be easy, then he's in for another 4. Hey, thanks, Dick. It's always good to see you. We appreciate it. And this is good news for all Factor viewers. We don't have the commercial block here, so we're going to go right into the most ridiculous in the mail, all right? The most ridiculous item of the day in Boca Raton, Florida. A company called the National Council of Compensation Insurance handed out American flags to workers on the National Day of Mourning last week. That's a good deal. But then the company would not let the employees display the flags at work. It says it wanted to protect the workers from possible divisive political discussions. Well, that's ridiculous, and everybody knows it. So now the company has reversed itself, and the flags are up. There are pinheads everywhere. Finally tonight, the mail, tons of it, as you might expect, and we want to thank everybody who's written into us. Minda Spencer, Newburgh, Indiana. Mr. O'Reilly, you are a godsend. My question is, would you advise me to travel to Cairo? I trust your opinion. Don't go, Ms. Spencer. All Americans in Arab countries will be at risk for the foreseeable future. Postpone the trip to Egypt. Michelle Young, Lafayette, Louisiana. I believe our government needs to consider the lives of innocent people when discussing what action to be taken. Don't let our anger cloud our judgment. Well, Ms. Young, civilian targets should not be bombed, but there will be collateral damage, and there will be suffering in those countries which harbor terrorists. There is nothing we can do about that. Winston Leach, Lampasas, Texas. Bill, please ask the president when Is he going to stop the photo ops and start destroying the bastards who did this awful thing to our country? Well, Mr. Leach, come on. The terrorists want a holy war. They want us to bomb indiscriminately. They want chaos and revenge. I have every confidence America will act decisively, but in a smart way. Susie Jo Vieira, Steubenville, Ohio. I have one question about bin Laden. If he was wanted for 8 years, why didn't we get him? Because the landlocked country of Afghanistan is protecting him, Ms. Vieira, and the surrounding countries would not allow us to use their airspace for a military strike against him. All that has changed now. Kathy Abel, Ellettsville, Indiana. Mr. O, I would urge every American business to move all their operations back to the USA. We need the jobs here, and it is time to take care of our own. Kathleen Chamberlain, Sierra Vista, Arizona. Mr. O'Reilly, many of us down here agree with you that the military should be patrolling the border. America must have more security than we have right now. Be interesting to see what the federal government does out this border thing right now. Just think of it. Any terrorist who wants to can come across that Mexican border or that Canadian border. It's a cinch. Don Davis, Almirada, Florida. Airline pilots have been demanding better security for the past 25 years. It is time to demand answers from the FAA bureaucrats. I'm with you, Mr. Davis. Over the past few years, the FAA has been a disgrace. Sharon Purucker, Troy, North Carolina. Bill, let's hope the war on terrorism is more successful than the war on drugs. Yeah, let's hope so, Sharon. Ashley Cobb, Cross Lanes, West Virginia. I'm 14 and think it is great that our country is coming together, but it is awful that it took a tragedy to do it. And Paul Fields, St. Louis, Missouri. Bill, you interviewed 2 Democratic senators Friday night. How fair and balanced is that? Number 1, this is no time for politics, Mr. Fields. Number 2, on Thursday, we had Newt Gingrich and Jean Kirkpatrick, 2 Republicans. We are fair here. And so is the website, www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. Now, the website is going to be updated all day long. We're going to have the latest information. We're going to have some of our interviews here. We're going to have all kinds of stream coming into the website. So you might want to check in with us 2-3 times a day. Also find out what's coming up on The Factor and all kinds of other stuff. So check that out. Get online with The Factor for the time of your life. All right. What else we got? That's it. Took care of all the business. And as always, we appreciate you watching. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Hope to see you again next time.
Was attacked this morning by a faceless coward.
Welcome to Fox News Channel's continuing coverage of the terrorist attacks on America. I'm Alan Colmes, and my partner Sean Hannity tonight is at Ground Zero in downtown Manhattan. And Sean, what's the scene like down there?
You know, Alan, I got to tell you something. Every single American would be so proud in so many regards in terms of what you see when you first get here. You know, where the public is cordoned off, right at that point, there is hundreds of New York citizens, and they're standing by waiting for rescue workers, police officers, and firefighters to come by. And when they come by, there's a thunderous applause, unlike anything I've ever seen before. There are women standing in the street. Every time a rescue worker, firefighter, police officer comes by, they're given free glasses of water and Coca-Colas and so on and so forth. When you get down, we got to 2 blocks right leading up to Ground Zero before they stop the press from going any further. And there you see a Campbell's Soup hut that has been constructed for the purpose of feeding all the rescue workers and firefighters and police officers. Restaurants have signs up offering free dinners for all the workers and rescue workers here. It's just, you know, I've been born and raised in New York. I have never, ever seen the city come together like what I've been able to witness here today. I got to tell you that, and the sad part is the reality. I ran into a friend of mine who is a reporter, and then he brings that reality home. He had just interviewed a firefighter who has spent the last 48 hours working, digging through the rubble, and finding the bodies of the victims of this act of terror and this act of war, and that really brought it home for me, and the sadness, and you have the smell in the air is that of a burnt building, and you still have smoke coming up from the rubble down there, and that's going on. I'm going to tell you, and I've been on top of the World Trade Center, 110 floors, and when you see this thing collapse, it is the saddest sight I've ever seen in my life, and that's the report from Ground Zero, Ellen.
Sean, both of you and I are both native New Yorkers, and the sadness is tinged with the incredible humanity we're seeing toward our fellow man, and we'll talk to you, and of course you'll be joining me in a moment when we bring Oliver North on to talk to him from Ground Zero. Let's right now check in with Rick Leventhal, standing by near where the World Trade Center used to stand. Rick, tell us what you're experiencing.
Well, Alan, I can echo what Sean is saying. Certainly when those towers came down, it was a horrific sight for anyone who lives here or grew up here or who even has visited here. I mean, those were symbols that we all have grown to love and appreciate. And also I can echo the sentiment that these firefighters and rescue workers really going through a very difficult time now, losing their brothers and their fellow friends and family in this tragedy, and yet they continue to flow in and out of that site hour by hour. The work continues around the clock, still considered a search and rescue, I should say, as they look for potential survivors in the rubble. But it's been more than 5 days. They found 5 survivors on Wednesday morning. No one has been pulled out of there alive since then, and hope continues to fade. The governor spoke earlier to Fox News telling us that indeed he admits that he doesn't want to raise great expectations among family members because the likelihood is fading that they will find survivors, but there is still hope and there's still a chance for a miracle, and that's what everyone here is now hoping for. But again, they are continuing to do the work at the site. Tremendous job involving lifting huge amounts of steel and concrete and rubble from the pile, but doing it delicately, gingerly, as others work on the ground, digging into the holes and crevices that have been left by these jumbled steel beams, trying to find any signs of life down below. We can tell you that rescue workers got into a pit about 80 feet down yesterday. They got down to the PATH train station. They looked for possible survivors there, did not find any. At this point, the number of missing stands at 5,422. That number could go up. The number of dead now 201. Of those, 135 have been identified, and the search and rescue mission goes on. Back to you guys.
Fox News Channel's Rick Leventhal at Ground Zero tonight. We're now joined by Colonel Oliver North, who's with us. Colonel, we spent some time together in a town hall in Little Rock, and I agreed with every point you made about the entire issue, your background in intelligence, and the things that you knew about terrorism and Osama bin Laden. The only concern I had, and I hope and pray that you are right, when you said this is Osama bin Laden's best shot, that he won't do better than this, because we've learned that America's vulnerable in so many ways. Can you explain and elaborate a little more?
Absolutely, Sean. There's no doubt that we are vulnerable, but some of those vulnerabilities have already been repaired. For example, I said it was his best shot because he's lost 19 of the most effective terrorists he had. They were aboard those 4 airliners. Second of all, we have constantly appearing, not on this network, but on some others you and I were forced to watch down there in Arkansas because they didn't have this network in that hotel. Right. We'll talk to our boss about that one. But the fact is, we're seeing constantly appear in the newspapers and on television so-called pseudo-experts who are telling Americans that they've got to go out and get inoculated against anthrax, that there's botulinum toxin being dropped in the water supply, and they better get a gas mask. That's a lot of hooey. The fact is, Osama bin Laden pulled his best shot last Tuesday. Yeah. America is a safer place today than it was a week ago. Colonel, and what we're about to see, Sean, is the likelihood that some of those who got away, because the president, in a remarkable act, the president ordered all aviation shut down in the opening moments of this, and that stopped those terrorists.
Let's talk about the president. He lacks the advantage of of past wartime presidents where there was no clear target or clear enemy. And because these are terrorists, because they move around, there's no capital that we can strike. And I want to ask you specifically about this. Is there a need, or will there be a need of the president to manage the expectations of the American people that in every single poll show that they want quick retaliation? Because this will be a different kind of war. This is the 21st century war.
Well, I want to remind everybody, Sean, listening to you and I, that back in April of 1986, Muammar Gaddafi bombed a discotheque in Berlin that killed 27. We knew that he was going to do it because we had intelligence. We just didn't know what the target was. And it took us from the 5th until the 15th before we could exact a reprisal and hopefully stop him from doing more. And it did stop him for the better part of 2 years. Now, what this president's got to do, and he's got the ability to do it, he's no longer the chief executive. He's now the commander-in-chief. The American people are behind him. There is going to be, Noble Eagle is the name of the operation. It is now underway. Forces are mobilized. You're going to see American military personnel being used to protect our borders, to improve the control over what's coming into this country, even protect our skies. You're also going to see some of the most sophisticated military operations ever conducted in the weeks ahead. It's not going to be over tomorrow. It's going to take weeks, months, perhaps. But we are going to hunt these people down like dogs.
Ollie, it's Alan in New York. I want to pick up on a very significant point you've been making, that you made at the town hall meeting with Sean, and that you're making here tonight, that America is safer now than it was a week ago. And I think it's so significant to impress that upon people who may be living with fear in their hearts as we speak, not knowing how to think, what to do, whether to move, whether to fly. I think that's a very important point. I'd like you to expand on that.
Well, Alan, I appreciate that, Alan. But, you know, the president went today to the mosque here in Washington, D.C., to reassure people that it's not the American way to exact reprisals against innocent people. You know, there were a lot of people who practice the Islamic faith here in the United States who are just as shocked as anybody who's a Christian or a Jew. And I commend the president for that step. What we're going to see, I believe, is a dramatic enhancement. It's already happening at America's airports. I was disappointed today to see American Airlines stocks, as the stocks in America's Airlines companies drop like a stone. What we ought to be doing is remembering it's safer to fly today than it was last Monday. Right. It's safer to go on our streets. But we need to be careful about those terrorists that are still out there, but the big threat is beyond us.
Do we know that, well, we're not invulnerable, and I mean, do we know for sure that our water supply is not vulnerable, that there isn't the possibility of anthrax or some kind of nerve gas? I mean, this may have been a warning. Do we know that this was not just a first step and something else may be in the works?
Alan, this guy pulled his very best shot last Tuesday. If he had had anthrax or botulinum toxin or sarin nerve gas or some of these suitcase nuclear devices that we hear these so-called pseudo-experts talking about, we'd have seen that first. The fact is, it took us 30 years and billions of dollars to build the W-88 warhead. The Communist Chinese stole the secrets to it back in the 1990s. They still haven't duplicated it. This guy can't do that. What he can do is put a truckload of explosives on a Golden Gate Bridge or in a Holland Tunnel. He can also get some people out there to do car bombs. But this guy pulled his best shot last Tuesday.
Ollie, we've got to take a break. We'll pick up with you in a moment. More with Oliver North as our coverage continues right after this break. Stay with us on Fox News.
If making money were simple, we'd all be millionaires. Let's face it, money decisions are tough decisions. You need to know what's going on here and how it will affect your finances, your future, and your family. We cover the markets in plain English so that when the bell rings, you can understand what happened and decide what's right for you. We bring Wall Street to Main Street so maybe you can live on Easy Street.
You got the tickets? You bet I'm there. I'll pick you up. Oh, wait a second. You know, I can't make it. No, I can't. Yeah, it's pretty important. I gotta go. Okay, I'll talk to you later. There's Daddy's little girl.
Mother Nature takes her toll, raging against the elements. Fox News Channel is there, bringing you the updates. From the eye of the storms to the aftermath of destruction, make Fox News Channel your only source for complete and up-to-the-minute reports.
Back to Fox News Channel's continuing coverage of the attack on America. We continue with Colonel Oliver North. Colonel, for the first time in its 52-year history, NATO invoked Article 5. I'm beginning to see some equivocation from some of our allies. For example, Italy's defense minister said, quote, Italian troops will not take part in any U.S. retaliation. He said the use of the word war was inappropriate. The German president does not expect Germany to take part in any military response, only offer logistical support and ask for a measured response by the United States, perhaps a political response. And the defense minister of France cautioned the U.S. against using force alone to deal with this. Are we going to have some equivocation from our strongest allies? Britain is rock solid, of course.
You know, you might hear some of that now because there are, of course, these are left-wing governments that came in with the Clinton regime. But here's one of the things that's important, Sean. In that World Trade Center that you're standing right in front of right now, they lost citizens of their own countries. And I'll tell you something, they're going to hear from their own people. Now, quite honestly, we don't need Italian troops, French troops. We might want some British help in this thing, but quite frankly, we don't need their troops. Our special operations commands are going to be able to handle it. We had 27,000 special operations troops, the finest military in the world. Operation Noble Eagle has already begun. We've got U.S. military planners on the ground over there in that part of the world planning these operations.
Right.
We got 3 carriers out there in the Gulf. We're going to see American troops with their backing carry out these operations.
Let me ask you. You were a target for terror yourself, Colonel, by Muammar Gaddafi. Your family was a target of terror. Your background in terms of intelligence and preparing operations from the bombing of Gaddafi in Libya to the Achille Lauro, your work in intelligence with the Contra rebels versus the Sandinistas. What is most likely to happen next?
Well, one of the things that we're going to have to look at, and I don't mean this to sound like it's the kind of thing where you want hate crimes to take place in America, but the FBI is right now looking for some of these foreign student groups where there were students that didn't show up for class on Monday and Tuesday. The folks who tried to kill my family, my lovely wife and our 4 kids and me, back in 1987, came from the People's Committee for Libyan Students. Now, I will tell you right now, those are hotbeds for this kind of activity. They're now looking at that. They're also looking for trucking companies that were formed in the last 3 years, and the trucks aren't on the road. They're checking those licenses. The Interstate Commerce Commission is cooperating with them. What we're going to see across the board in this country is a dramatic increase in security. It's going to be more difficult to get on and off an airplane. It's also going to be, perhaps, the best thing that could happen to us in terms of working with our allies. 34 countries harbor Osama bin Laden's terror cells. We're going to stamp out terrorism. The president's absolutely firm about that. It's going to take their cooperation. We're going to get it.
Ollie, we have given an ultimatum now to Afghanistan to deliver Osama bin Laden, given him a couple of days. What if they don't? What do we do at that point?
Yeah, Alan, I would just correct the record. What we did is we told the Taliban that they ought to turn him over to the Pakistanis or to us, and we've given them some time. Now, I've heard people talk about carpet bombing Kabul back into the Stone Age. It's already there. There's no point in doing that. What we need to do is find this guy. And it is important to decapitate this organization. I heard some other people out there talking today saying, well, he's not really all that important. He is. I would remind you that once they ridded the French army of Napoleon, the French army was no longer a threat to the rest of Europe. And we need to rid the world of Osama bin Laden. And the president put it, I think, pretty good today. Wanted dead or alive.
The point is, if he's not delivered to us, if the Taliban doesn't come through, and Pakistan says they will cooperate, but if we don't get what we want, we can't carpet bomb. An air attack may not do it. Do we send in ground troops it could take who knows how many ground troops. What do we do? How do we go about trying to accomplish that if we don't get his head on a platter?
Well, without getting too terribly specific here, Alan, one of the capabilities we have is to work with neighboring countries to launch very specific pinpointed operations. And again, we've got 27,000 special operations troops in the armed forces of the United States. We do not need to get bogged down in Afghanistan like the Soviets did back in the 80s or like the British did in the last century.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to do that, and we're not going to do that.
All right, Colonel North, always good to see you. Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate you being with us. Please stay tuned. We'll have more of our continuing coverage right after this break when we'll be joined by former White House Chief of Staff John Sununu straight ahead.
That's what happened.
Okay. Katie, now you tell me what happened.
Well, but Grandpa, I just told you.
Well, it's only fair if we hear her side.
What, you don't believe me?
Oh, now wait a second. It's important to hear both sides of the story so that we can understand everything that happened.
Grandpa, can I tell you my side?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
When I was playing, Greg just came over and pushed me. I wasn't doing anything.
Okay, Greg, now what about...
Mother Nature takes her toll, raging against the elements. Fox News Channel is there, bringing you the updates. From the eye of the storms to the aftermath of destruction, make Fox News Channel your only source for complete and up-to-the-minute reports.
Remember him? He was such a jerk.
A complete jerk, but so cute.
So wrong.
Yeah, but
everybody told you.
I know, but I didn't want to hear it.
You listen to me.
That's different. I trust you. When you tell me something, I know it's the truth.
Well, in that case, trust me. That was one ugly dress.
Channel V.
Channel V.
Check it out now. Channel V. 24時間 100% music. US, UK のトップヒット on air. Concert, music news, star 独占インタビュー and more. International music scene をそのまま catch.
What does the V stand for?
Channel V.
You want him dead or alive, sir?
I just remember, all I'm doing is remembering when I was a kid. I remember that they used to put out there in the Old West a wanted poster. It said, wanted, dead or alive. All I want, America wants him brought to justice. That's what we want.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the attack on America. President Bush put Osama bin Laden on notice earlier today that he's not about to let him off the hook. Joining us now in Manchester, New Hampshire, former White House Chief of Staff and former New Hampshire Governor John Sununu. Governor, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
I admire what George W. Bush has said and done, and I think it was significant today that he went to an Islamic center and talked about Islam being a peaceful religion. I think that's a very significant message. In fact, you're Lebanese, aren't you?
Arab American, I am.
So I think that was a very important, significant thing he did today.
It is. There's a great deal of concern amongst the Arab American, Muslim American community that there might be a backlash. A lot of folks don't realize that virtually all, if not all, of the Arab countries of the region that are our allies can't stand Osama bin Laden either. The Saudis have in fact taken away his citizenship, and our friends in the region are just as much afraid of him as anyone else is. And so they are going to certainly cooperate in trying to get rid of him.
Can you give us an idea as a former Chief of Staff about what might be going on in the White House, what conversations are taking place, what the atmosphere might be like there right now?
Well, it's probably a two-tier track. One is the diplomatic, and certainly Colin Powell and the President are doing their best to build a coalition that will support a breadth of activities, I assume including military activity against the terrorist groups around the world. They are calling our allies. They're hoping to get cooperation, and in some cases they've gotten cooperation. In other cases I think they've been a bit disappointed, but they'll keep at that. And the process in the White House is to continue that, look at the scorecard every day and see who has to be recalled, so to speak.
Well, we just talked to Oliver North about an ultimatum. What happens if that ultimatum is not responded to? As I just asked Ollie North, What options does the White House have at that point?
Well, first of all, it's asking for cooperation on a variety of levels, and certainly on the diplomatic side. And interesting, I mean, I think the president's had some disappointments. The Washington Post today, in an editorial, pointed out that really the first of our professed allies that turned him down on a request was Ariel Sharon of Israel, who won't let the meetings to get the peace process started take place. I'm sure the president was disappointed at that. On the military side, they certainly are calling to see who will take that kind of a step with them. You don't put an ultimatum to your friends. There certainly will be an ultimatum to the bin Ladens of the world and probably to the Taliban. And if they don't provide cooperation in order to give us access to those that we want to go in and get, I suspect this president, and rightly so, is determined enough to use whatever means he needs, whether that means just the strikes from the air or combined with putting U.S. troops, special forces in wherever he thinks it's an appropriate
What happens
balance.
with those nations who don't cooperate as we might like them to? If Israel doesn't step up the way we might want, or if Italy, as Sean mentioned earlier, decides it will not support us with troops, this can permanently damage these relationships, couldn't they?
Well, it damages the relationships in the sense that I hope that we don't forget. And but in the long run, I suspect that even those countries will be there with some kind of support, sufficient support, to be an active part of solving this problem. Everybody, I think, wants to be part of the solution. Each one has a different piece that they can contribute to that solution. We understand that. We know diplomatic limitations. I think you saw today some of the problems Pakistan is going to have with people in the street, but that's something that the government there has to balance against what they now perceive as both an obligation and, in fact, in their best interest in the long run, to cooperate with the United States. I have to say something to our friends around the world. I have never sensed a stronger sense of purpose or anger amongst the American citizens over this incident. Yeah. And they are looking, in my opinion, at a United States that is very different today than it has been in the past 7, 8, 9 years.
Governor, oh, sorry.
No, and I think that's important for them to understand, that this is not going to be business as usual. This is a president and a country that is committed to deal with the issues as he has said he will.
Governor, I agree with you 100%. Welcome back to the program. I'm Sean Hannity.
Sean.
I want to go back to Colonel North's comments that this was Osama bin Laden's best shot. And I want to ask you, in light of what he said, compared to what Gary Hart, co-chair of the U.S. Commission on National Security for the 21st Century, when he said, this is not the end, this is just the beginning. There will be other attacks on this country. We do not have the luxury of time. I think the next attack will not be airliners. It will be chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons in cities like Denver, Seattle, or Nashville, or cities like that. Our commission found that we are not prepared for that eventuality. Who are we to believe, Colonel North or former Senator Hart?
Well, I think what Senator Hart is saying is appropriate in terms of what we ought to be preparing for. Whether it happens or not, we ought to be preparing for it. And there is a level of preparedness that is somewhat lacking, that I think you are going to see, and I think you're going to see that gap filled pretty quickly. There is a dedication to doing this right domestically and internationally that is the focus of virtually every federal agency out there. You know, the FBI is all over the place. I'm old enough to remember they used to be called G-men, but they're all over the place, pursuing every lead in what John Ashcroft has pointed out is the largest effort they have made in history.
Governor, let me ask you this question. I mentioned earlier about managing the expectations. I mean, this is not a similar enemy to past wars the United States has been a part of. There is not a capital that we can strike. It's going to be difficult to find the enemy as he hides and he cowers wherever he might be. That means probably cruise missiles would not work. It raises the possibility that American troops will be sent into countries like Afghanistan, and this will have the potential of being a long, protracted war. The American people, will they be resolved for this type of conflict?
I think so, and I think that's the point I was trying to make. I have never seen such internal and almost universal commitment to doing what has to be done.
Yeah.
I think everybody recognizes that the formula now, every day when you get up, is sort of expect the worst and do your best. And you've got, and that's the way you have to go at it on a day-to-day basis. It will be a long struggle, not necessarily a long struggle in one place.
Yeah.
I think there is a distinction between a long Vietnam-like struggle in one place and a long struggle in which there will be changing focuses of activity, country by country, cell by cell, as this president uses our assets to clean out the roaches.
Is it even possible, if we don't have a cruise missile attack, I mean, is it possible that this could be a war that would be fought almost entirely as a covert operation, or is it more likely to be a ground invasion with air support or airstrikes? I mean, you've been involved in military planning before. I mean, what are we more likely to see?
It'll be a combination of the two, and one of the problems we have is a absolutely ridiculous policy pointed out by former CIA Director Woolsey on television over the last few days, in which in the last half dozen years we've adopted a policy of not using human intelligence unless they were perfectly scrubbed and in essence were hireable by a federal agency. The people you need to go in and deal with bad people are people who have a history of mingling with bad people, and what you do is you find their weak link, whether it's money or whatever it is, and you use that to get the information you get. We need to recommit ourselves to an intelligence operation that is willing to get its, not that the intelligence people weren't willing to get their fingernails dirty, but an intelligence operation in which the policymakers are willing to let them get their fingernails dirty and go out and do what they have to do.
Governor, we're going to take a quick break right there. We'll continue with Governor John Sununu in just a moment. Stay tuned. Our coverage continues right after this break on Fox News.
Mother Nature takes her toll, raging against the elements. Fox News Channel is there, bringing you the updates. From the eye of the storms to the aftermath of destruction, make Fox News Channel your only source for complete and up-to-the-minute reports.
You know, some mornings this is just too much. Especially when it's cold and nasty outside. But you're my pal. You're always there for me, unlike some people. And I'm not gonna let you down. Come on, man, let's go outside. So, Cosmo, got any big plans for today? There you go.
Channel V.
Channel V. Channel V.
Channel V.
Check it out now. Channel V. 24時間 100% music. US, UK のトップヒット on air. Concert, music news, star 独占インタビュー and more. International music scene をそのまま catch.
What does the V stand for?
It's all about music. Channel V.
And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
And welcome back to Fox News Channel's continuing coverage of the terrorist attacks on the United States. Still to come tonight, we'll be joined by the former police commissioner of New York City. That's Howard Safer. Right now, we're continuing with John Sununu. Governor Sununu, I want to ask you, the president today said we want Osama bin Laden, we want him either dead or alive. His poll numbers have been soaring. The American people are behind him. Is that the type of a political question that he would see waning support in the days and weeks to come if he doesn't strike right away? Is this something he has to do right away?
I think he has to do it as soon as he can do it right. And I don't think he ought to rush and do it in a way that is not the proper way. And so it is more important to do it right than to do it fast. Certainly, poll numbers will decrease, and I don't think this president's going to pay attention to the poll numbers. This is not this is not an issue for the polls. This is an issue for a generation. He pointed out that he felt that this was an obligation to take care of, not only for ourselves now, but for future generations. I think that his entire focus is on accomplishing that, and I suspect this is absolutely poll independent.
You know, in a free and open society, there's always going to be a vulnerability. Isn't that true, sir?
Well, by definition, if you're free, people are free to do things.
Right.
If they're free to do things, they're even free to do bad things.
Are you as surprised as I was that we could have at one time, simultaneously, 4 commercial airliners hijacked? Has this made you reevaluate issues like our nation's borders and other issues?
I was surprised at how successful they were in the hijacking part of this. I fly a lot, probably too much, and yet I think a lot of us who do travel had become, with the officials involved, a little bit smug about the fact that it's been 10 years since there's been a hijacking in our country, and frankly, even at that time, the hijackings were perceived to be benign.
Sure.
So they took advantage of an attitude that had developed and struck in a simultaneous way that surprised all of us.
Let me ask you, there have been some in Congress now that have privately been telling me that they are very disappointed in the CIA and the intelligence gathering capability of the United States, and they feel in some ways, they've told me privately, that they let the American people down. Do you agree with that?
Well, you tell me who those congressmen are, and I'll explain to them what the facts of life are. I'll explain what the facts of life are to them.
Your friend Robert Novak wrote it in his column today.
Then Novak is equally wrong, because what has happened is a Congress and an executive branch, particularly in the last 6 to 8 years, has handcuffed the CIA by putting in place rules and regulations and tightening down on funding in certain areas and passing rules of operation which hindered them from putting into place the human intelligence that's necessary to do this. Those guys that are complaining are probably amongst those who wanted a clean-fingered operation there instead of allowing them to participate in the way that they have to do it. And that's what I was talking about earlier.
Governor?
If you want intelligence from bad guys, you've got to hire bad guys to go and get it. And you can't get a clean pedicure on every one of these guys that are going to go in there. So if those guys in Congress are complaining, they are more of a problem than the CIA itself has been.
Governor, it's Alan once again. I ask you this as a former chief executive of a state and as a senior advisor to a president, a chief of staff. Could you comment on the torturous decision we found out today that President Bush had to make about shooting at a commercial domestic airliner? That must have been just, I have to use the word again, torturous.
It was torturous. I think the president made the right decision. I think it is the kind of decision that defines a presidency for people, and they ought to see in the man, in making that decision as quickly as he did and as decisively as he did, the fact that there's a real leader in the White House.
Who is this president leaning on?
He has a whole group of folks I know pretty well and admire a great deal and have a lot of respect for in there. And I can just hear the conversations taking place. And they are smart enough to be pulling in all directions to make sure that this president hears all sides. There's a lot of people taking bringing the president arguments on sides they are not committed to, just to let him know all sides. And this president is listening to everybody and winnowing it down.
When you say you can hear the conversations taking place, I want to amplify the thought you just offered, which is that there are people on all sides. Is there a vigorous dialogue going on with different points of view? And is it a pretty vigorous dialogue?
Well, I know it's a dialogue going on, even if they're forcing it to have different points of view, so that the president gets the benefit of different perspectives. And I can hear Cheney and I can hear Powell and Andy Card all doing this and then trying to let I suspect I know which way they're all really tugging, but in fairness to the president, they're also giving him both sides of the issue. And that's what you call a first-class team.
Who do you think is tugging which way?
I think they're all on the same band. On the same wavelength right now. I think they all recognize that what they do is to have to put together a structure that is capable of dealing with dozens, if not hundreds, of cells of activity that have to be cleaned out over a long period of time with a variety of scales, some large-scale efforts, some small-scale efforts, some in full cooperation with the nation in which these cells are, and in other cases where they're going to have to go in perhaps over the objection of the nations where these cells are. And what they are doing is putting together a host of plans that will deal with the variety of contingencies, the variety of the size and intensity of effort they have to make, and the climate of receptivity, if you will, in terms of the public opinion of the land they have to go into.
Governor Sununu, thank you for being with us. It's always good to see you. We appreciate your insight tonight.
Thanks very much.
Stay tuned. Our coverage continues right after a short break. We'll be joined by the former police commissioner of New York, Howard Safir. That's all straight ahead.
There's nothing new going on in Washington. No new issues, scandals, or controversy, because Washington has always been a hotbed of egos, emotions, and intrigue. The only difference now is that the press and media are all over it, with more cameras and more reporters than ever before. But how can you be sure you're getting the whole story, fair and balanced? Well, watch the political fireworks here and catch the best show around.
No. You know, we agree on just one thing. A good argument's the best way to get to the core of an issue.
Wait a minute, I don't agree with that. A discussion's the best way. You have to explain, reason, justify your position.
Everybody on TV is discussing things, Alan. That's boring. If you want to find out what people really think, you need a good argument.
No, a discussion's
An
better.
argument.
A discussion.
We can agree on this. It's your turn to pick up the check today.
Well, I'll argue that one.
Alan, let's see if we can discuss this.
Sometimes you just have to be there. People say just the facts, ma'am, but that's not the whole story. It's the people, the way they tell it, the experience they had. It can really touch you. News can be more than just a story. It's a shared event, a defining moment, a string that pulls us together. Technology isn't news. People are news.
Grandpa, that's the whole story. That's what happened.
Okay. Katie, now you tell me what happened.
Well, but Grandpa, I just told you.
Well, it's only fair if we hear her side.
What, you don't believe me?
Oh, now wait a second. It's important to hear both sides of the story so that we can understand everything that happened.
Grandpa, can I tell you my side?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
When I was playing, Greg just came over and pushed me. I wasn't doing anything.
Okay, Greg, now what about...
Back to Fox News Channel's continuing coverage of the terrorist attacks on the United States. And now joining us, former New York City Police Commissioner Howard Safir. Commissioner, thank you for being here tonight. Glad you're a part of Fox News for this. You know, Oliver North said earlier that we are much safer now than we were a week ago. Is that true about New York City and big cities in general? Could you comment on that?
I think we are a lot safer because we're a lot more prepared. I mean, we have a carrier off the coast of Long Beach. We have the National Guard. We're on a real upturned status as far as police officers and federal agents. But, you know, I'm not sure I agree with Ali that we are totally safe. This is a group that is engaged in a war. They've just had, for them, a tremendous victory. And I don't think that we can ever let our guard down.
Is it possible there are other things in the pipeline, be it chemical warfare, biological warfare, that we may not yet know about that could happen? I don't want to scare anybody, but on the other hand, I want to be realistic.
I don't want to scare anybody either, but, you know, these people are committed to a long struggle, just like we're going to have to be committed to a long struggle to deal with them. And I think anybody who says that this is over is just kidding themselves.
Let's talk about security measures and some ideas. The New York Times had a piece yesterday about if, with $1 billion, And I'm talking just about New York because there are people in big cities all over the country watching us. They could use shatter-resistant film, for example, on the windows of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Grand Central, and I talk about other thoroughfares around the country, could use passive walk-through metal detectors. Are these the kinds of measures we might see happening in the weeks and months to come?
We're going to have to see them happening, especially at airports. I mean, one of the things that everybody recognizes, a system that allows 4 planes to be hijacked in one day is a system that doesn't work. And that we need to change that, and we need to change it quickly. And we can't change it the way it's been changed so far. You know, there are federal marshals that have been deployed to all the major airports around the country. That's great, and it's going to be good for the short term, but it's not going to deal with the long term. And what we have to do is we have to put databases at ticket counters so that when you check into a ticket counter, somebody says to you, "Are you Howard Safer?" And you say yes, and they say, "What's your last address?" And you have to give it to them, and they'll have a database that tells you something.
But how do we walk that fine line between protecting ourselves and civil liberties, which we know all those, concurrently, these issues both get mentioned?
Well, I don't think this is an infringement of civil liberties. I don't think any honest person is going to worry about somebody asking them a question about what kind of car they owned or where they lived last. The person who's going to worry about that is the terrorist who doesn't have a former address, who doesn't know what car he had last, because it's all made up. And I think the kind of thing that we have to do is balance the protection of the public. Nobody wants to see anything like what just happened happen again.
Every time I keep reading about that these guys were in the country, some of them since 1992-93, taking aviation courses, living using their own names in Florida. We found out that a month or so ago they were put on a watch list, but it was too late. And I'm sure many Americans keep shaking their heads and thinking, knowing what we knew and knowing what was possible for us to know, how could this have happened?
Well, I think a lot of it comes back to what Governor Sununu was saying, and he was right on. Since the church hearings in the 70s and then right up through the last administration, our intelligence agencies have been told, you deal with nice informants. You don't deal with people who are involved in dirty activities. You don't deal with terrorists. You don't deal with criminals. Well, the truth is, you're not going to get this kind of information from choir boys. You're going to get this kind of information from people who have been involved in the activities and for whatever reasons want to turn on their comrades.
Thank you for being with us, Sean Hannity. By the way, Fox News is reporting the State Department is evacuating non-emergency personnel in Pakistan as we speak. Commissioner, I want to ask you this question, and you've been around law enforcement a good portion of your life. Are you confident we're going to get these evil people who did this?
I'm confident we're going to get Osama bin Laden. I'm confident that if we have the resolve, and I believe this president does, we are going to be able to, over the long term, eradicate these people cell by cell, country by country, because the truth is, it's not just the Middle East. These people are right here among us. I think one of the things, and this is going to be very unpopular, but one of the things we have to look at is, and I'm not talking about American citizens now, I'm talking about foreign students who are here taking advantage of our education at the same time working for these terrorist organizations.
Commissioner, I know you've got to be proud because right over my shoulder, the rescue workers continue. I mean, I've been in New York. I've been down around the World Trade Center. I've been at Wall Street during the daytime. It is as active now as it is at 9 o'clock in the morning, and here we are about 9:45 Eastern time. I know that's got to make you proud, but I also know in the back of your head, because I've known you for a long time, I know how sad you must be knowing that 400 firefighters and police officers, as we speak, are still missing, the guys you work with.
Well, you're absolutely right. As you know, before I was police commissioner, I was fire commissioner. And there are no better firefighters or police officers in the world than there are here. And you're right, that activity is going to continue, and it's going to continue at a feverish pace until there is absolutely no hope.
Yeah, well, you know, right now our cameras are focusing in directly where one of the Trade Center buildings went down, but, you know, I can see everything, the blocks leading up to it. I mean, there are lights everywhere, and it's busy as if it would be in the daytime. And from all the people that I've been working with here at Fox, all around this area, this is going on nonstop, running into police officers and firefighters that are working 48-hour straight shifts and doing everything that they possibly can do. I've never seen a more heroic or courageous or remarkable effort in my life, and the public responding, which has got to make you feel good. As the rescue workers leave, they're being cheered. They're given water bottles. They're given free food. Campbell's has set up a free soup area for these guys. Restaurants are opening their doors to these rescue workers. This is New York. I know it has a reputation of being a hard city. This is the most incredible thing I've seen in my life, being a native New Yorker.
Well, this city is showing the rest of the world that not only are we a resilient city, not only are we going to come back stronger than we've ever been, but this is a compassionate city. New Yorkers care about each other, and when we talk about our firefighters and police officers, you know, I went to 2 funerals on Saturday. I went to a memorial mass this evening, and seeing the people that I've worked with and people that I love who are gone, it shows the kind of strength that we have in this city, and it's not going to change.
You know, Commissioner, because you've been to the 110th floor of the World Trade Center, the observation tower. I've been there many times. And then you go, as I got as close as I could get to the rubble here tonight, and I saw this building, and I saw the degree that it collapsed. I don't know if TV images could capture the absolute horror and the grotesque evil of what is actually, and the magnitude is what's happened here. Did you feel the same way?
Absolutely. When I visited the site and they stood near some of that huge construction equipment, which is dwarfed by this entire, what is the world's largest crime scene in history, it's very traumatic, and it is awesome to see the kind of work that's going on down there. And I know that these firefighters, as long as there is a hope of one person breathing in that wreckage, they're going to be working.
You know, and each and every one of these guys that we see over my shoulder and the other side of the box here, you know, each and one of them are heroes. And to let the American people know exactly, most of these guys probably in the last week have slept, you know, very few hours, and they've been there at all hours trying to do this. Is it disconcerting to you, Commissioner, that we haven't found a body since Wednesday? That's got to be heartbreaking.
It is disconcerting to me, and it's heartbreaking, but, you know, if you think about it realistically, when the size of the blast, the size of the fire and the collapse and the damage, it's going to be a miracle if we do, but we constantly hope for miracles.
Commissioner, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope to see you again.